Okay, good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us today on the Edition 8.1 changes. I am Leanne Chuboff. I'm the Vice President of Technical Affairs at SQF, and the responsibility of issuing changes and new additions is mine. So I am the lucky one to share with you what all those changes are. So with that, okay, let's begin. So today's goal, what do we want to talk about today? It will be a relatively, I don't see us filling the whole hour, and you'll soon see why, but today's goal is I just want to give you the overall changes to Edition 8.1, our food safety codes and the quality code, not codes, but code. I'm going to give you the implementation timeline, and then good news, everybody, we're doing Edition 9 changes as we speak. So this is an SQFI first, 2 editions at once. We are actually working on 2 editions at once. So I'm going to share with you what we're doing for Edition 9. So here's our codes. As you all know, we have our fundamentals code. Our fundamentals code is what our previous, if you were around for the Edition 7 codes, that was our previous level 1. But now we realigned the fundamentals code to sync up with the GFSI Global Markets Program. So we have a fundamentals code for the primary, and we have a fundamentals code for manufacturing. And this is not GFSI benchmark. The fundamentals codes provide that basic information for food safety for manufacturing sites and primary sites. So one of the most frequently asked questions that we get is, can I use the fundamentals code if I'm not manufacturing or primary? And the answer is yes, you can. So for example, storage and distribution, food packaging, you can still use our fundamentals code. What you need to do is, one, check with your buyer to ensure that they will accept the fundamentals code. Some buyers, like retailers, state that they need to be GFSI benchmarked, so these are not GFSI benchmarked. Therefore, you need to check with your buyer to ensure that you can use the fundamentals code. And then the next thing you'll do is use the system elements in the manufacturing fundamentals along with the relevant module, like Module 12 for storage and distribution or Module 13 for food packaging. So you can still use the fundamentals code even if it's not to manufacturing or primary. So that's one of the questions. Check with the certification body out there and make sure that your buyer would accept the use of the fundamentals code. Again, it's not GFSI benchmark. The food safety codes you're quite familiar with, no matter what industry scheme you're with. It would be, we have food safety codes for manufacturing, a food safety code for production, or primary production, a food safety code for storage and distribution, a food safety code for food packaging, a food safety code for food retail, which you're familiar with. But now we have our food safety code for food service. So our food safety code for food service has now been published under the Edition 8 standards. So that has been published and is ready to go. So any food service organizations out there that wants to use the food service code, feel free to contact us or a certification body and we'll get you started. And then lastly is our food quality code. So our SQF quality code was published with Edition 8, separated out from the food safety requirements, and now is its own separate code. And we did make some changes to that in there. So here's the overall key changes, and you'll notice that these changes are very soft. So our goal for Edition 8.1 was truly editorial. Unless it was under the quality code or there was a few tweaks to multi-site. So it was editorial. It was code clarifications. It was numbering, not any numbering changes, but when the numbering was off or a code reference was off, that had to been changed. We removed like irrelevant wording, like one section looked at food safety and quality, so we removed the word quality in there. So some of these key changes really, like you can see, the objective of our code requirements were pretty benign in the changes. Like I said, quality and multi-site had two had some changes to it that I'm going to go over in more detail. But I know what you want. I would be the same way. I worked in manufacturing, and I'd want to know those changes. So I'm going to go through some of those changes in the next slides. Again, like I said, I don't see this webinar taking very long, only because the changes have been very soft to them. So here are some of the changes. In the system elements, under 2211 and 2447, we had the word organization in there, and we wanted to clarify in edition 8 that we are referencing the site. The site is defined in our glossary. The site is the organization being certified. So we wanted to consistently use the term site, and we found a couple instances where we used the word organization versus site. And so we wanted to make sure that was clear. So we changed the word organization to site. In feed, we referenced the word food instead of feed, so we wanted to clarify that, and we just changed the word food to feed. In 4615, that's the reference that I was talking about in pet food. We looked at, it said that it was looking at food safety and quality requirements, and we removed the word quality from it. In 4672 and 4811, there were some references regarding the refrigeration units and the storage units, and we realigned it. We removed, there was some language in there that said, you know, we wanted to make sure that that the storage units are checked at regular intervals. The wording wasn't as consistent across the other modules, so we just updated that wording. The meaning and the intent really hasn't changed, but it was reworded to align with the other modules. Same thing with all of those requirements under 9245, 928. Again, the meaning hasn't changed. So 9245 is about door hatches and windows and their frames and how they shall be constructed. So there's more clarification in that one. In 928, again, it looked at pest. We changed vermin to pest, and so we reworded that. In 9281, I looked at external windows and ventilations, and again, changed flies to pests in there to kind of align with the other modules. 9210.2, again, aligned to the other modules, and this is regarding equipment and utensils, so they're designed and constructed, installed, operated, and maintained. And we included the wording and meet regulatory requirements, again, to align with the other modules. 9 to 13.6 looks at 9 to 13.8, I'm sorry. Again, it looks at pests, instead of pest control, pest contractors. And then at 9652, again, aligned with the other modules. So it looks at the racks providing storage of packaging and how they shall be constructed, becoming a harborage to pests or vermin. So just kind of clarified those to align with the other modules. In 9210.6 and 9747, we removed that reference to pet food that was included in there, and 9 is regarding slaughterhouses, so we had to remove that. And same thing with 9635. Clarified and removed that reference to quality. Looking at pack houses, 10 to 10.1 and 10 to 13.7, again, changed the reference to align with the other modules, and this is in regarding maintenance and the repair of equipment. And in 10 to 13.7 is we removed the reference to manufacturing so that it's to food handling environments, because 10 is regarding pack houses and they're not really manufacturing anything in there. 11 to 12.7, the code reference in the requirement itself was 11.6.2, and it should be 11.6.4, so we updated the correct code reference. 11 to 12.7 12.7, hang on, 11.2.12.7 is regarding pesticides and other toxic chemicals. So we had the incorrect reference. So instead of 11.6.2, it's 11.6.4, and 11.6.4 is regarding storage of hazardous chemicals. So we just needed to make sure we had the right reference. Then 11.3.1.1, again, we updated that wording. It was very awkward, the way that we worded it. It stated something like personnel who are known to have been known to be carriers. It just was awkwardly wording. So we clarified the intent to say personnel who are carriers or known to have been carriers, not. So we removed that duplicate wording. And 11.5.4, and this is across all the relevant modules. We changed the header. It used to be 8.0, you said monitoring of water microbiological quality, and we just changed it to just water quality. It's not supposed to be an action as a header. It's supposed to be more of a statement, so we just updated that. And those are all the changes in the manufacturing code. Like I said, very, very subtle changes. Primary is still the same, not a whole bunch of changes. Module 7, Part A, 2.10 is a list of the mandatory requirements, and we updated that list so that it was in line with the Module 7 mandatory requirements. We also failed to mark 2.4.3.1, which is HACCP, as mandatory, so we marked it as mandatory. And then Module 7H, which is regarding the harmonized standard, has been removed. So that's no longer an option. We had no users in Module 7H, so we just removed it from the standard itself. Storage and distribution, again, followed the similar changes to those requirements. We looked at 2.8. That header to 2.8 stated identified preserved foods, and that was from edition 7. We never got changed, so we updated the header to reflect more of that requirement. So it's just states allergen management. Nothing under allergen management changed. We just updated that header. 2152, there was extra wording. We repeated ourselves regarding the decision-making oversight and actions arising from the crisis management incident. We repeated ourselves, so we removed the extra wording. In 12.4, we removed the reference of processing. So instead of personal processing practices, it just says personal practices. That's more industry specific. And then changed, so 2463 to 2463 is, we changed it to be more updated into more relevant to the industry practices. So in 2.4.6.3 changed that. Same thing with 2.4.63, I'm sorry, that numbering was changed to 2.4.6.4, so that numbering was different. In the remaining ones under that particular column, 12.4.1.1 and so on, those have been updated to be more relevant to the industry, to reflect the industry code itself. So 12.4.1.1 is regarding packaging materials, products, and ingredients, and instead we just looked at materials and products. In 12.4.4.4, we again removed the reference to processing. In 2712, we updated to remove the reference to manufacturing, so now it looks at authorized personnel have access to equipment in vehicles rather than production equipment. And then same thing with 2712, remove the reference to manufacturing itself. So so 8 read the measures implemented to ensure raw materials, ingredients, packaging materials, work in process, etc. So we just said to ensure products and materials are held, etc. So we removed all those references to finished products, raw materials, etc., because it's not relevant to storage and distribution. And then in 2.6.2.1, the reference was to rework, and instead we now reference it to recouped, which is more industry specific itself. Food packaging followed the same type of changes where it was numbering changes. So 2135 should be numbered to 2134. There was a misnumbering there. 2322 for food packaging, again, wasn't reflective of industry terms. So industry for 2322 now has changed to be more reflective of food packaging itself. Same thing with 13.4.1.1. That is regarding instead of raw and finished packaging materials, it just says raw materials, packaging, and finished products. So that's been updated. 13.4.1.3, again, looked at personnel in the manufacture, storage, transport, and handling of finished product rather than food packaging, and ensure the products and materials are handled and stored in such a way. So again, reflects more of its industry terminology. And then 13.6.4.1, again, looks at removing stuff like raw materials and, well, the practices applied unloading of the raw materials of the food packaging and food contact food packaging materials documented and implemented, and then finished food packaging shall be loaded. So kind of making the distinction between raw materials that are used to build the packaging versus the finished food packaging. So we changed that terminology. And then 13.2.3.1, we updated this to align more with the header that's under it. So 13.2.3.1 is in regards of is in regards of 13.2.3.1, sorry. So 13.2.3.1 is in regards of walls, windows, doors, and ceilings. So we wanted to update 13.2.3.1 to reword it and replace ceilings and windows to make it more aligned with what the header is about, which is walls, windows, doors, and ceilings. So wanted to do that. And then 13.5.2.1 just clarified the water standards so that it shall meet the local, national, or international water standards, and that would align with the rest of the modules within the food safety codes. So again, you can kind of see that there weren't that dramatic of changes as it relates to the food safety code. The intent was to clarify. What I didn't include in here is the numerous formatting and editing changes that we did, missing periods at the end of the sentence, words that were repeated or wrong tense of the verb, those kinds of things where we noticed them from our perspective, and we had people providing us, like if we had a misspelling or anything like that. So we changed all of that. So that's not included in this. It's just hopefully subtle changes that you'll notice that it's more grammatically and formatted correctly. So those are the other changes that we made. Timeline, so we published this on July 2nd. The implementation is rather short. It's 2 months, so it will be implemented on September 2nd. It's an initial certification and a desk audit. The desk audits can be conducted prior to September 2nd against 8.0 or 8.1. Again, the differences aren't that significant. But the code will be implemented on September 2nd. That's a hard start date. And then the surveillance audits, if there are surveillance audits, the intent is that it will be conducted to the code they are certified against. So if you were certified or recertified against Edition 8 and you have a surveillance audit, your surveillance audit will be conducted against Edition 8 regardless of the time frame. And then same thing, if it was against Edition 8.1, then that's what your surveillance audit will be, is against 8.1. So some of the tools that are available for 8.1 currently on S2FI, there's the codes, which we published, and then there's the change list, which we published. I just checked on sqfi.com, and what's not on there is the quality code change list, so I'll have that published by the end of the week. We have it completed, it just didn't get published, so I'll send that out and we can publish that by the end of the week. Coming soon is the guidance and the checklist. Again, it's a matter of just taking and formatting and creating these checklists. So coming soon, by the end, hopefully by the end of the month, we'll have those available to you. The guidance itself is not changing because we didn't make any significant changes. The only thing that would change is just the subtle changes that we see here is in the requirements itself, but none of the guidance is changing itself. So it's just the outline of the reference to the code requirement. That's the only thing that will change in regards to that. So edition 9, as I said, we are working on edition 9. So edition 9 is going to cover the reason why we didn't do the significant changes in 8.1 is because we knew we had to publish an edition 9 by the end of next year. GFSI is coming out with their new requirements document. Their new requirements document will include specific elements in that we would need to include in our code. So GFSI, how it works is GFSI provides this requirements document. We review that to ensure that we have all those requirements in our code, in our standard, and then we have to align with that and make sure that we have that all in there. So there's a couple areas where, I don't think there will be that many significant changes that GFSI is putting forth that we don't already have in it. I mean, they're discussing putting in more on environmental monitoring. We already have that. They're discussing more about putting in stuff about equipment specifications, and we already have that information. So some of the things that they already have, we already have, that they're putting in their requirements document, we already put it in, and so we're pretty well prepared. So one of the things that they're adding is food safety culture. So they're going to require that all the standards have a requirement about food safety culture and how that's being measured at the site. So how does the site incorporate the elements of food safety culture in their operation, in their day-to-day? And what they're referencing is a GFSI white paper that was completed and posted about a year ago. So if you go to the GFSI website, mygfsi.com, you'll get an idea of, and you read the white paper. It's an excellent, well-written white paper, and that was developed by a technical working group through GFSI. And through Lone Jesperson and Laura Nelson with Alchemy, they developed with this working group, they chaired the working group and developed this excellent white paper that identifies these 4 elements of food safety culture. So I would go and take a look at that. We already have many of those in place, like communication, for example. We already have those elements of food safety culture in it. We just have to ensure that we are meeting the intent behind what GFSI is putting in there. So we've got to look at that white paper, see to make sure that, we have those right elements in there. So it might be good if you guys want to take a look at that white paper. It's, again, very well written, some really good tips on how to incorporate and maintain food safety culture. And then there are going to be some significant changes to multi-sites. Multi-sites were changed, and I guess my slide didn't. My slide must have got erased somehow. But there was a change in edition 8.1 to multi-site. So I don't know if I have any multi-site users on the call. So multi-site, just to kind of, sorry to digress a little bit, but multi-sites are those for only primary. Right now we only have them in primary. We have for livestock and we have for growers. And multi-sites apply to those industries right now. So if you know if you're a multi-site or not. A multi-site is an organization with a lot of sites. So if you have a lot of certificates under SQF, like 50, because I have 50 sites that are certified, that's not a multi-site. That's just a lot of sites that you have. Instead, multi-sites require internal audits, and that there was some changes to the internal audits. internal auditor requirements. The internal auditors need to ensure that there's impartiality between the auditor and the site, and they also have to be calibrated annually, and reviewed annually. So those two requirements were added to the multi-site under Edition 8.1, and that was identified through our GFSI annual assessment. So that was included in the benchmarking requirements, so we had included in 8.1. But they're pretty minor changes, and it's something that those internal auditors already do for multi-site. So I apologize for missing that slide. Anyways, that had changed. But GFSI is working towards changing multi-sites even more under Edition 9, so I see that will change significantly under Edition 9. There were some changes to Edition 8.1 that we didn't include. Those changes really provided the significance to Edition 9, and that we just didn't include. A lot of the changes were that were wording changes that changed the intent, those kinds of things we didn't include, so we put them into Edition, we saved those for Edition 9. And then of course we have to include our stakeholder feedback, and we have to include any emerging issues and retailer changes that we got from them. And then this is to be published by the end of 2020. So that's our goal, is to publish this by the end of 2020. Okay, sorry, I know I was on mute, so I apologize for the differences, because in addition to the multi-site, what didn't cross over was quality changes. So I apologize for that as well, and I don't know, two of my slides didn't cross over. So how can you get involved with Edition 9? We will be sending out a stakeholder survey. So the stakeholder survey will be sent out in August, and in it, it will give you your opportunity to kind of identify areas where you think we need to focus. It could be reducing content even. If you feel like there is duplication, or if there's something that we need to rephrase or reword or clarify, then that's what we want to know. If there's things that you think we need to add or delete or whatever, then we want to hear about that as well. So we'll be sending out a stakeholder survey to all of our stakeholders for participation in the SQF, in how to change Edition 9. Then at the SQF conference, we will be holding our own stakeholder session. And our stakeholder session will be sharing the results of the survey that we sent out, as well as having our own kind of working group and what we want to put into place there. So that is what we will be doing as well. So that's some of the changes, or how you can participate in the in Edition 9. So come to the conference. You'll get to hear the results of the survey, and then participate in working groups and stuff, so that you can get your ideas more on the books itself. And that's it. Again, more information, go to our conference. And what I want to do, and I apologize because that slide didn't transfer over, and I apologize for that. So I kind of want to go over some of the changes to the quality code, and give you guys some ideas of what we did in the quality code. And I know there aren't any slides, so you're just going to have to listen carefully while I go over those changes. So again, I apologize that they didn't transfer through. But overall, what we did with the quality code is, one, we eliminated the requirement for a surveillance audit. So right now, as it stands in the quality code, there's a surveillance audit required if you get so many nonconformances or the level of nonconformance. So based off the type and number of nonconformance, a surveillance audit is triggered. So we eliminated that requirement. So now it is still no score, pass, not pass, but it's only an annual recertification. So we eliminated the surveillance audit requirement. The second big change that we did is we looked at statistical process control. So there were many areas in the SQF code, like 2125, regarding the SQF quality practitioner requirements. We used to state that they had to have statistical process control. Instead, we rephrased it so that they're competent in statistical tools and or other quality tools. So ensuring that they have, the intent is to focus on process variation versus statistical process control. We also did that in 2125, again, as it relates to the SQF practitioner, and 2452. So making sure that the non-conforming product meets in-process and product requirements for quality. We looked at 2532 and 2543, removed the 3 sigma reference, and now it just focuses on process capability versus the 3 sigma reference. And same thing with 243 regarding control charts. So it's now just control charts and other quality tools shall be used to effectively control and optimize production processes to improve process efficiency and product quality and reduce waste. So we're still emphasize we still state that control charts shall be used, but we're not looking at the specific 3 sigma requirement itself. And same thing regarding the other references. So again, remove the reference for statistical process control, focused on controlling process variation, and that is really what the big changes are in the quality code. There were a few other minor changes in there. The identity preserved status, instead we included that the regulatory reference is also checked besides customer and specifications and label declarations. So making sure that the identity preserved status declared in accordance with legal and or regulatory requirements as well. But other than that, there really aren't any dramatic changes. Instead, we wanted to take away the scare of incorporating statistical process control following the 3 sigma. Instead, what we really wanted to do was focus on controlling process variation because that's the intent behind it. Other than that, there were really no other big changes in the quality code. We tried to make it less intimidating, but still make it still very solid so that process variation is a key part of our quality code, or controlling process variation. So I apologize that the slide didn't transfer through, but that's pretty much what the summary is. Okay, so there are some questions that were out there. Let me go through them. Is the food service code being audited at this time? So right now, nobody has volunteered to do the food service code just yet. It's available, but nobody has volunteered to do it. We partnered with the National Restaurant Association to build this code, and right now we are working with their industry members to bring an awareness that the food service code is available. But right now we haven't had any takers on that. Same thing with the retail code. We are actually working with one retailer and doing a pilot to get this code, the retail code, moving as well. So another question is, what's the status of unannounced audits? Will there be any changes? So that's a good question. It's a question for edition 9. So for edition 8.1, nothing has changed regarding unannounced audits. Still have the Select Site program, which is actually growing. We have a number of Select Sites out there now posted on our website, so that part is growing. We still have the 1 in every 3 unannounced audits being conducted. But nothing really has changed nothing at all has changed in 8.1 regarding unannounced audits. So I don't know what edition 9 might bring. It depends on what stakeholders will say or what retailers will say. But right now I haven't heard anything that would change in edition 9, but don't quote me on that one. Can storage and distribution companies apply for multi-site certification? So storage and distribution companies can't, but there's a caveat as to what their multi-site would apply to. So multi-site would apply, multi-site you have two entities. You have a central site and you have the sub-sites. The central site is the main entity. So for storage and distribution, for example, the storage and distribution facility, that site that's being audited, that's the central site. The sub-sites can be storage and distribution facilities that are feeding into that main storage and distribution facility. So for example, if you have sub-sites that are all cold storage and they're feeding into the main storage and distribution site, then that can be a multi-site. Same thing if it's all dry storage or all frozen storage, but it all has to be the same entity. It has to be all frozen or all dry or all cold, feeding into that central site, which is the main storage and distribution site. So central site cannot be a corporate site. Central site has to receive a certification. So that's how it's set up. That central site means that they are a brick and mortar building that is able to receive certification. So storage and distribution is eligible for multi-site, but under that premise, under the fact that the central site is the storage and distribution site that's being certified, and the sub-sites are all of the same process or product, meaning all frozen, all dry, all refrigerated. So it is possible to do that. What is the title of the GFSI white paper reference for food safety culture? That is a great question, and maybe I can Google it while I'm answering another question, and I will get to you in just a second. So let me look at that real quick. Jose already did it. Thanks, Jose. So Jose already did it. The white paper is titled A Culture of Food Safety. So take a look at that. It's very well written. It's something that we should take a look at. Couple more questions. The document summary for changes 8.1 does not open. So it opened for me, so it should be available on the website. I was able to download for me. So the 8.1, and that's just for the food safety codes. As I mentioned, we will certainly have the quality code published very soon, by the end of the week for sure. Let me see if there's any more questions. One more question, somebody's typing. So feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Here's my email address, and if you forget my name or what my email is, info@sqfi.com is always a good place to start. So, so feel free to go there. One more question. The food quality code is required for all audits? No, the food quality code is optional. The food quality code is based off of where you want to go in your certification journey, or perhaps maybe one of your buyers is requiring a food quality code, but otherwise it's optional. It's not required. All we did is separate the codes from the food safety requirements and the quality requirements. They're now separated. And the changes to edition 8.1, fairly minimal, like I said, really trying to soften the hard line on statistical process control, because the intent really is to control process variation. There are other means to do that. There's automated process controls. You know, so there's other means to do that, and so we wanted to provide everybody with those other quality tools that you can use to control process variation, and that was the intent behind it. And again, we eliminated the requirement for the surveillance audit. So what we'll do is we'll send out a copy of this presentation, and I will include the slide for the quality code, and I will include the slide for multi-sites as well, and we will send that out to everybody, so that will be included. And with that, I don't see any other questions. Wait, hold on, there might be another question. Oh, audio. Yep, okay. So nope, I just was doing a double check on questions. Again, any questions, info@sqfi.com. Don't forget edition 9. We will be sending out that stakeholder survey in August. So please, please, please fill out the stakeholder survey. And then also, if you want to have a bigger part on shaping edition 9, we would love for you to come to the conference. We're having a stakeholder session at the conference. In order, you know, don't just go to our conference website, which is sqfconference.com. So you can attend the conference and have a bigger stake in edition 9. That's what makes us better. So again, I appreciate your time for this brief update. We'll send out this presentation. I'll upload the quality code comment or changes, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me or info@sqfi.com. Thanks again for your time, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.